Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Tracy. I'm a relocation coach helping people navigate the emotional challenge of relocation. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to overcome loneliness and build true belonging after moving abroad. A common question people ask themselves the most after relocation is, where do I belong? I came across clients who feel torn between two worlds. Part of them is rooted in their old life, and the other that's trying to embrace this new one. Even when you are relocating to a new place, you still carry memories, relationships, emotional imprints from where you came from. And maybe one part of you miss the comfort of being at home, and then the other part of you is proud of the new life or career that you already built in this new country. You wish you could have both, but no matter what you choose, you always have to sacrifice something. This is when a lot of people say, when I'm here, I miss home. When I'm home, I miss here. It almost feels like your heart is split. And then we also have people who say that I don't belong anywhere. Nowhere feels like home. Especially after you move abroad, you're being exposed to new ideas, new ways of being. You will naturally evolve and grow, but not everyone is gonna grow with you. Over time, you realize a lot of old relationships cannot survive the distance. So when you return home, you feel like a stranger at a familiar place because you've changed, places change, people change. There are moments and relationships that cannot be recreated. So a lot of people feel like they're no longer connected to where they came from, but they also haven't found this true belonging in this new place. When they're living in this new country, they still feel like they haven't fully settled. They feel like an outsider. And then we also have people who are always searching for the next place. In my experience, I work with clients who lived in 7 different countries over the past 10 years and traveled to 50 or even more. And they are always chasing the next adventure. When they arrive at a new place, they were excited to explore new food, new streets, new restaurants. But after the initial excitement phase, they keep wondering what's next. They experience the same feeling of emptiness and restlessness. And as you're trying to navigate this phase, find true belonging, another question people ask the most is, what does home truly mean to you? And so in my experience, when I was younger, I thought home means the place my parents and my grandparents were. And then I left home at 16 years old. I had to rebuild home. At that time, I thought home means buying my own house, finding a stable job, getting married. Until I was 29 years old, that year I was going through a major life transitions. A lot of things were falling apart, and I also moved from Hong Kong to Vancouver. That relocation kind of pushed me to redefine what home truly means to me. And it was also during that time I met some of my best friends at a spiritual meetup. That was the first time I felt this person see my soul, see my heart. They not only accept me for me, but also inspire me to become a better version of myself. So at that point, I thought home means being with like-minded people who have shared values and interests, who love you and accept you unconditionally. And so that is also the second question people ask the most. How do I build meaningful connections after moving abroad? Because oftentimes when people say I don't belong, and if you ask them the reason, they will say it's because I haven't found my people or my communities yet. Well, that is what looks like on the surface. But if we want to answer this question, solve this problem, we need to know what is the real cause. In my experience, I noticed that these are the 3 reasons why people struggle with finding true belonging and make meaningful connections. The first one is the fear of connection. So this happens when people experience that social anxiety, that maybe you're going to a networking event and you don't know how to initiate a conversation with a stranger. You feel this tightness in your chest. You overthink. Sometimes you worry, what if I say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing? What if people don't like me? And oftentimes when our mind, our body is hijacked by fear, it's almost impossible for us to make meaningful connections. And then the second reason is the frustrations in connection. So maybe you can have small talks with people, but you struggle with finding something in common with other people. Maybe part of you always feels like you're weird, you're different, you couldn't find anyone who shares similar interests, values, or beliefs. And this also happens a lot when you're moving to a new country because you're gonna notice a lot more differences than similarities. People may look different, they speak different language, they have different traditions, they celebrate different holidays, they have different habits. The third reason is loneliness in connection. You can't have a social group, new friends, coworkers to chat with, but still feel emotionally disconnected. Maybe because you don't feel safe to reveal deeper layers of yourself. Maybe you struggle with vulnerabilities. And these people often look really charming. They're really good at making people laugh. A lot of people like them, but they don't always share their deepest truth. That's why they often feel lonely even when they are in a relationship. This is also something I experienced when I first moved from Hong Kong to Vancouver 8 years ago. I was trying my best to build my network and I asked my friends in Hong Kong to introduce me to their friends in Vancouver. But after meeting those people, I still feel emotionally disconnected because the conversation stayed at the surface. Part of me didn't feel comfortable to open up. And I remember there were a lot of times I kept feeling lonely even when I was around other people, and sometimes even more lonely than when I was by myself. And that's also when I realized loneliness comes in two forms. We have the social loneliness and we also have the emotional loneliness. So the social loneliness is about missing a network of people who you can casually connect with. Maybe you don't know anyone who you can call to grab dinner with after work. Or maybe there is no one you can reach out to go for a walk on a Sunday afternoon. Think of this like during COVID, we had this lockdown, a lot of people were staying at home. There was no public gathering or social activities. That was when a lot of people experienced that social loneliness. And then we also have the emotional loneliness. This one runs a lot deeper. You can have a social group but still feel emotionally lonely because what you're missing is not just company, you're missing connection. It's the kind of bond where you feel seen, you feel heard, the people who can allow you to take off your mask, just be your authentic self. And so often when we experience loneliness, a lot of the society will say if you're lonely, you just need to be more social, meet more people, go to more networking events. Well, that can help with the social loneliness. It doesn't always help with the emotional loneliness. The emotional loneliness will only begin to soften when you feel safe enough to open up and when you have the discernment to say who you can trust and who you cannot. Because when it comes to meaningful connections, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. You don't have to be friends with 100 people. And sometimes all you need is just one person. One rich relationship is better than 100 casual connections. And the other reason a lot of people struggle with belonging is because they haven't fully understand what belonging truly means. There are two types of belonging and most people only recognize one. So we have the false belonging and we have the true belonging. The false belonging is you are trying to erase yourself to fit in. You're trading your authenticity for approval and validation. Even you find your people, your group, but you still feel emotionally exhausted because you have to prove yourself, you have to perform or people please. And then we also have the true belonging. The true belonging means you can be your authentic self when you're being part of a group. You can express your truth and you're still being received and accepted by the other people. Your energy feels open and alive when you're being part of something. And this is also my experience when I remember when I just moved from Hong Kong to Vancouver, I said yes to every event even though I wasn't genuinely interested, just because I didn't want to spend time alone. I want to look like I'm being part of something. But then the other part of me was always emotionally exhausted until I realized I was even more lonely when I was with other people than when I was being by myself. And that is the time when I decided to take a step back, just allowing myself to face the loneliness instead of running away from them, and just allowing myself to spend time in solitude, to sit in silence. And that was the first time I heard the voice from my heart. And from that place, I became more selective of the people I met and the events I went to. And so at one spiritual meetup group, I met the best friends of my life who really see me and accept me for who I am. So these are some questions you can ask yourself to discern whether you're experiencing true belonging or false belonging. The first question is, when you are being part of a group, can you be yourself? If you can be yourself, then you belong. If you have to be like other people, then you fit in. And the second question is, can I belong to a place without losing myself? And the third question is, can you create space for other people to be themselves? True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. And I remember when I met the best friends of my life, one thing she said to me was that you are someone who changes a person's life just by being in it. So each time I catch myself worrying, am I doing this enough or am I doing this right? It reminds me that it's not about doing, it's about being. And oftentimes people say belonging will limit freedom. That is because what you're experiencing is the false belonging. It feels like you're being restricted. And a lot of times the reason people move abroad is because they want to be free. They want to let go of the influence of those old conditioning. But without true belonging, you can feel free but still feel deeply lonely and empty on the inside. But once you found that true belonging, it will give you the groundedness to be yourself, to create, to live the life on your terms. In order to find true belonging, you also need to recognize that belonging has two dimensions. We have the outer belonging and then the inner belonging. So the outer belonging means you are being part of something that's greater than you. Maybe you're being part of a group or community or like-minded people that share similar values and interests. And then we also have the inner belonging. This means you're connected to yourself, connected to your body, connected to your heart. You feel accepted, loved within your own presence. And so often we only focus on the outer belonging but neglect the inner belonging. And that is another reason why so many people struggle with finding belonging. A couple of months ago, there was this young lady who joined my event, and at that event, she also met other women who share some similar interests. They had really good conversation, so they exchanged their contact numbers. But afterwards, she tried to get in touch with the other woman. None of them responded, so she felt really frustrated. And also she noticed that ever since she moved to New York, she met a lot of new people. She had friends she can go partying with, but if one day at middle of the night she was not feeling well and she needed to reach out to someone, there is no one she could reach out to. So without doing this inner work, even you met a lot of people, going to a lot of networking events, you can still feel emotionally lonely and disconnected. Oftentimes the people in our lives are like mirrors, reflecting back to who we are and what we need to heal on the inside. Once we begin to heal on the inside, you will begin to operate at a different frequency, and that's when you begin to attract like-minded people into your life and find true belonging. So finding true belonging is an inner work, and it starts with your body. Your body knows whether you belong. Think about this: when you're being part of a group or a community, if your body feels relaxed, your breath becomes smooth, that means you truly belong because your energy feels open, nourished, and alive. And when you don't belong, you try to pretend to be someone else. Your body tenses up, you feel drained, and your breath may even feel shallow. And this is when a lot of people can even go into that freeze mode or attack mode because their body didn't feel safe. So your body is sending you signals on whether you belong to a group or not. This is not an answer that you can get from your mind, because our mind often attached to a lot of status identities. For example, if today you're part of a social club, that means you belong to them. But once you stop paying them your membership fee, then you no longer belong to them. And true belonging doesn't work like that. True belonging is unconditional. It's not just about being included. It's about being known, being seen, being accepted, for who you truly are. And so true belonging is a felt sense in your body. It is unconditional. And the good news is that that felt sense of belonging doesn't always have to be tied to external group or people. You have the ability to create that felt sense in your body. And this is exactly the work we do in somatic healing. By changing the energetics in your body, creating that inner safety, inner belonging, you will begin to attract whatever you desire in your external life. You will also be able to discern who are your people, because whenever you met someone, your body is sending you signals, your intuition is picking that up. Have you ever had that experience that you feel this person's vibe before they even say a word? Because energy speaks louder than words and behaviors. You can meet someone who looks really good on paper, but the other part of you just feels like something is off, and maybe that's just not your person. And once you really allow yourself to clear the mind, process your emotions, you will be able to connect your intuition, connect your inner guidance. That's when you will be able to discern who you can trust and who you cannot. So how do we build this true belonging from the inside out? And this is a framework I use that's called the home framework. The first step is H, means honoring your body, honoring your nervous system. Safety before openness. So this is the foundation of this work. So often we don't feel safe to express our truths. Maybe you had a past experience in your childhood, you were not being seen, being validated by your caretakers, or maybe at school or past relationship, you were being emotionally belittled or ignored. So this is really about going back to those past experiences and heal those parts of yourself, and starting slow, starting with baby steps, just simply allowing yourself to feel a little bit of those negative emotions. And also we want to ground your body, calm your nervous system. This can be done through slow, intentional breathing, somatic movements. And the more you allow yourself to process those emotions, regulate your nervous system, the more you can feel safe in your body. And that is when you can feel this inner belonging. That is 80% of this work. And the second step is open. This means you want to open up from self-connection, not the need from being rescued. Two questions you need to ask yourself. The first question is, am I opening up to connect, or am I opening up to be validated or be saved? Because so often people can overshare because they are feeling lonely, they want to be understood. And oftentimes when you're searching for approval, validation from other people, you either end up in a codependent relationship, or sometimes that needy energy will push people away. Because oftentimes the more you desire validation from others, the more it loses you. The key to break free from this cycle is to stop asking validation from other people and start giving that to yourself. And a lot of people didn't even know they have the ability to do that. But every single one of you has that within you. There is a part of you that's ever present, ever steady, that knows your truth, knows your power. That is your true self. And the more you heal those old emotionality, the more you can connect to your true self. And once you connect to your true self, the place that's operating from love, connection, peace, not only can you love yourself more, you will also develop more capacity to love and accept other people for who they are. And that's when you begin to build a true belonging. And then the third step means micro. This means micro vulnerabilities. You don't have to share your whole life story to a stranger, starting with baby steps. Maybe when you first move to this new city, someone asks you, how do you like it? How are you doing? And you can just simply respond with a really honest answer. I'm still trying to adjust to this new place. Connection is built through realness, not perfection. And this is for someone who is struggling with finding similarities. If you struggle with finding something in common with other people, it's simply because you have been looking for similarities in the wrong place, because there are so many layers of similarities. The first layer is the labels and identities. Maybe there are people who are similar to you in terms of culture background, maybe they have similar age, gender, or job titles. And the second layer is about interests and beliefs. Maybe you want to meet people who share similar hobbies, values, or worldviews. And if we only look at these two layers, you're always gonna run into differences until you look at the deeper layer, which is the emotional layer. This means you deeply understand people's struggles and dreams. So if you want to establish a meaningful, deep connection, you need to become one of these two things. The first thing is you need to become a pain detective. This means you understand what people struggle with. And there are some common struggles we all experience at certain point of our life. The first one is natural disasters. Maybe it's flooding, fire, earthquake. And the second one is relationship issues. At one point, we all went through a breakup, and sometimes it's divorce. And then the third one is health problems. Maybe it's chronic illness. Sometimes maybe it's just getting a cold, and you want to be there when people are going through these difficult times. And the last one is career transition and financial pressure. So maybe someone is changing into a new job, and you want to show up for people when they are in pain. This is gonna help deepen your connection. And then the second thing you need to become is you want to become a dream amplifier. This means you understand what people want to accomplish. Maybe someone wants to become a New York Times bestselling author. Maybe they want to start their own business. And maybe someone just wants to be connected to a person that inspires them. They want to find their mentor. So whatever their goal is, you want to be there for them, support them. And if we look deeper, you will realize we all share the similar dreams. We all want more connection, more meaningful relationship, more financial freedom, more peace into our lives. And if you really understand people's pain and struggles, become a pain detective and a dream amplifier, you will realize we're not that different. Underneath all of the labels, identities, there is something that's universal. This is our shared humanity. And I remember when I first started my life coaching practice 4 years ago, my first project was to have 100 conversations with 100 strangers. These are the people from completely different culture background, age groups, or genders. On the surface, it looks like we are very different to each other. But then once we dive deeper, they begin to share their pains and struggles, dreams and goals. That's when I feel like this deep connection with every single one of them. Because growing up, I always feel like I don't belong. I always struggle with finding like-minded people. And that was the first time I realized that we are not so alone. There is something that connects all of us. The last step is evolve. Meaning that belonging is not something you find overnight, it's what you build moment by moment. And maybe you belong to a group or a relationship at this stage of your life, but things always change. Change is constant. After a couple of years, you're being uprooted from an old environment. You have to rebuild the sense of belonging all over again. So it is very unrealistic to find belonging in one relationship, one city, one community. So belonging is not a static state. It is ever changing, ever evolving. What you can really do is to find belonging in this moment. If you're having a family dinner with your loved ones, then in those moments you belong to your family. And maybe the next day you wake up, you go to work, you try to accomplish a project with your teammates, then in those moments you belong to your teammates. And if there is no one in front of you, you're spending time by yourself, then in those moments you belong to yourself. In Japanese philosophy, we have this concept that's called ichigo ichi. This means this moment only happens once. No encounter can ever be replicated. Even if you gather at the same place with the same people at the same time next week, but your energy will change, your emotion will be different. So this moment will never happen in the exact same way again. This concept really invites us to savor every experience as if the first and the last one, because it really is. So that is my final invitation, finding belonging in this moment. I'm a relocation coach helping people overcome loneliness and build true belonging no matter where life is taking you. If you're looking to explore more about this journey, book a one-on-one free call with me. I'd love to support you and follow for more.